My name is Raymond Dugué, and it is always a pleasure for me to inform you that I am at your service. Okay, let me give you a brief background of me. I was born and raised in, I'm an African born and raised in IET, educated right here in New York. I attended City College of New York School of Engineering. My first degree was chemical engineering. After doing that, I always wanted to teach math. I love math. That's my first love. So I registered to do a PhD in math program. I did not complete it, but I have a second degree in math. So to warm you up so we can all become friends, because we don't know each other, so I want to start some exercises. Let's look on the screen. 25 times 25. Does anybody know how to calculate that?
Add 2 zeros divide by 4.
Add 2 zeros and divide by 4. Okay, maybe. Let me show you a trick. Anytime you're multiplying the same number by itself and it ends in a 5, there's a simple trick. The last 2 digits always have to be 25. Do you know why is that so? Because God said so. Because it's true. Now here's the trick. You notice on the 10s, you've got 2. Correct? The trick is, instead of doing 2 times 2, you would do 2 times 3. You will take the other digit and add 1 to it. So what's 25 times 25? 625, because it ends in a 25, and then you do 2 times 3. Okay. What's 15 times 15? 225. It ends in a 25, and then you do 1 times 2. Is everyone following me? Okay. Now, watch this. What is, let's say you have 9 people in the room, and 1 is, let's say you've got 9 black people in the room, and 1 is from Jamaica. So what's the percentage of that? 1/9, but what decimal is that? What percentage is that? Now, let me show you what the answer is. 0.111 or 11.1%. Okay, watch this. What is 2/9? 0.222 or 22.2%. What is 3/9? 0.333. But 3/9 can be simplified to 1/3. So 1/3 is another way of saying 33%. What is 6/9? 0.666 or 2/3, which is. What is the point that I'm making? The point that I'm making is the whole concept of analysis, of forecasting, of mathematical applications is very simple. Instead of us asking the question, why can't our kids do math? Why can't they do technology? Why can't they do science? We're asking the wrong question. The question that should be asked is, what features, what skills would we possess that would terrify the other side? Now you know why. It has to be that way. One guy is going to come along against the whole world. One guy, one black man. He looked at a map and he said, I can do this. I'm going to tell you about him. Let me give you some facts. Greece doesn't get established until 1,000 years before the Common Era, BCE. Dr. Ponder.
Yes.
You're a doctor, yes?
Yes.
You took the Hippocratic Oath, yes?
Yes.
Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. The person that is generally regarded as Hippocrates is not born until 333 years before the Common Era. But get this, he has to go into Kemet, into Egypt, to learn medicine. But get this, his people worship a god they call Asclepius. You know him as Imhotep. But listen to this. Imhotep died 2,600 years before Hippocrates was born. Who is going to reclaim their stolen legacy? Who will stand up and say, guess what, black man, black woman? You are great, man. You built the pyramids. You're the first mathematician, the first scientist, the first physician, the first architect, the first accountant. You built the first cities. Yes. Who will stand up and do this? And get this, ladies and gentlemen, all over the temples in Luxor, in Karnak, in Abydos, you've got the scenes that you know as the first virgin birth, the first brother killing the other brother, the first resurrection. But what's the problem? These structures are more than 6,000 years old. There's a disconnect here. How can those things have existed more than 6,000 years ago, but yet we're being told stories that happened way after that? Look at this structure. This is in Abydos. Inside that temple, it's not all you see are stories, the actual stories of the first virgin birth, the first resurrection, all of that. All of it. This is in Luxor. Well, the Arabs call it Luxor. The Greeks call it Thebes. You called it Waset, the very first city on the planet. It's more than 18,000 years old. This is the Parthenon. You know, supposedly Greeks learned all of that architecture. This is all borrowed and copied and stolen. Watch this. You see the Parthenon? This is identical. But this is in Egypt. Yes. The obelisk. The obelisk is a representation of the resurrection. There was Asar, there was Aset. He was killed by his evil brother Seti. And then because he was so good, his wife was so good. And what determined goodness was being a virgin. They had not consecrated their marriage. His spirit impregnated Aset, and she called her son Heru. Guess when he was born? December 25th. The Greeks come along, they change the name, Asar to Osiris, Aset to Isis, Heru to Horus. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been played. And we will continue being played until we do something about it. Okay, let's talk about why we're here. We're here to discuss Garvey. Why is Garvey so great? Why does the whole world discuss Garvey? Why has every speaker today mentioned the name of the right excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey? Started a movement. Mr. Garvey was able to do something no one's ever done. Organize 11 million black people under one banner. He states eloquently, one God, one aim, one destiny. Because we are one people. No distinction. Like every great movement, it will be initiated by just one individual, the power of one. No great gathering or crowd-sponsored movement. Quite the contrary. Once you see 2 or 3 people, it's because that one person has already fought it through, organized, and they've met other people. But guess what? The one person needed is simply one who is dedicated with a sense of mission for his race, seeking nothing but the opportunity to serve it. Over there, if you look at that poster, this is how Mr. Garvey signed all of his letters. Nobody's bigger and greater than Garvey. Look how he signs it. With best wishes, your obedient servant. This is why I always say, I am Raymond Dugué. and I'm happy to serve you.
All right.
Okay, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Garvey is born August 17, 1887 in St. Anne's Bay, which is in St. Anne's Parish, which is the north coast of Jamaica. Okay. Unbelievably, this is incredible. It's as if the Lord Omnipotent had chosen Garvey from the beginning. Garvey is born in 1887. In 1883, there is a census taken in Jamaica. Of all the black people in Jamaica, 8% can read and write. Garvey is born into a household where both his mother and father can read and write. Incredible. The father, Marcus Garvey Sr., had a library. So Garvey reads and reads and learns. He appreciates the concept of reading and writing. Absolutely. Watch this. At 14 years old, we're talking 1901, Mr. Garvey is forced to leave school. He is apprenticed to a man named Alfred Burroughs, who is going to call Cap. Get this. Alfred Burroughs is a printer, but more importantly, he's got even a bigger library in Garvey's household. Garvey's going to read and absorb everything. Anyway, Mr. Garvey eventually moves into Kingston. In Kingston, he's going to run into a man named Dr. J. Robert Love. Dr. J. Robert Love was born in the Bahamas. He eventually becomes a pastor. He goes to the United States. He meets Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, who's going to educate him and tell him, throw away the image of the likeness of the white man's God and listen to liberty which speaks in your hearts. Dr. Love will eventually attend medical school at Buffalo. He's going to be the first black graduate of Buffalo Medical School. He wants to help his people, so he decides he's going to move to IET. IET was established as a refuge for all black people. When Dessalines established IET, what he had said is, any black, any African who steps foot on that country, not only are you free, but you become a citizen. Vous êtes citoyen, vous êtes citoyen. Dr. J. Robert Love goes to Haiti, and he is demoralized. He sees that they've abandoned everything. Eventually, he's going to be exiled. He's forced to leave IET. Where does he go? Kingston, Jamaica. Who does he meet? Young Marcus Garvey. He's going to be Garvey's first tutor. Whenever you hear Garvey say, the black skin is not a badge of shame, but a sign of glorious nationhood, that's J. Robert Love educating him. But anyway, Garvey decides he's going to uplift his race. Unbelievably, Mr. Garvey thought he could self-fund it. He starts a newspaper, The Watchman, goes out of business. Why? No funds. Mr. Garvey decides he needs to travel to make money, like a lot of immigrants from the Caribbean. You go away, you make a ton of money, you send it back home. He goes to Central America, he goes to Costa Rica. He starts a newspaper, La Nación, goes out of business. He's an agitator. He tries to get the black people in Costa Rica, in Limon, to be organized and not to take the injustices. Eventually, the authorities come after him. He has to leave Costa Rica. He goes to Panama. He goes to Bocas del Toro. Same thing. He starts La Prensa. What happens to that? Goes out of business. He travels all over. He visits Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador. Everywhere he goes, what does Garvey see? The black man is universally denigrated. We're at the very bottom. He goes and works on the Panama Canal. Whites are paid in gold. Blacks are paid in silver. Whites are given housing. Blacks no housing. Everywhere. He approaches the English embassy, the British embassy, and says, these are your subjects, take care of them. What does the British diplomat tell him? If you don't like it, go back home, man. So Garvey tries to organize our people. Nowhere. Everywhere he goes. He left Jamaica, we're at the bottom. He goes all over Central South America, we're at the bottom. And of course, Mr. Garvey's running out of funds. So he goes back home. Gets back home, there were 11 children. Of the 11 children, only 2 lived to adulthood. His older sister, Indiana, and Marcus. Indiana is going to become a governess to an affluent, filthy rich black physician who, for the lack of a better term, wants to educate his people, educate his kids. He's moving back to England. She's going to be taking care of the kids. She says to Garvey, I can give you housing. Garvey goes to England. Same thing. In fact, what Garvey's going to learn in England, he visits Scotland, Ireland, France, Spain, Belgium, Hungary, Germany, everywhere. Two things Garvey sees. Number one, guess what? Those are governments. They treat their constituents as a government. He never saw that when he was a subject of the colonial government. And the other thing he learns, this is what makes Garvey cry. He learns that the finest sons of Kumasi, of the great Ghanaian Empire, they were being killed not only by the British soldiers, but by the black subjects of the British Empire. Blacks killing blacks for the service of the whites. Garvey couldn't believe it. He said, I don't believe it. He's all over the docks. That's what he learns. Everywhere he goes. Then he's going to meet his second greatest tutor, Dugué Muhammad Ali, who in 1911 is going to start the African Times and Orient Review. When you hear Garvey say, one God, one aim, one destiny, that's Dugué. Dugué Muhammad Ali is a brother, is a Sudanese brother born in Egypt, but he's also a historian. He's going to write a book on the history of Egypt. He's going to give Garvey the last touch of what it is for the concept of Pan-Africanism. Anyway, this is the map Garvey sees. Look at it. On the planet, only 3 places where black people could say they were so-called independent. Haiti, where I'm from, Liberia, and Ethiopia. But as of July 28, 1915, Woodrow Wilson will send his Marines to invade and occupy and brutalize and rape the Haitian people for 19 years. And when they leave, they will clean out the treasury. This is one of the reasons why Haiti will always be poor. They cleaned it out completely. And then listen to this. Garvey sees this. On his way back, he sees this. He cries, he weeps. Imagine you're looking at this map and you're going to say to yourself, I can do this. I can liberate, uplift this race. This is the genius of Garvey. How he's going to make that determination and do it. The whole continent is under brutal colonialism. Yes. The whole race was nothing. Being black was made into a crime. Garvey says, I will make it into a virtue. How do I do that? I know your history, black man, black woman. You are the greatest of the great. And I'm going to show you and what man has done, man can do again. That's why Garvey's so great. Yeah. Garvey's going to establish the finest newspaper we've ever produced on this planet. It's called the Negro World Newspaper. Let me tell you about black newspapers. You've got the Amsterdam News. You've got the Courier. You've got the Crisis. You've got the Defender. You've got the Guardian. You've got the Emancipator. And there are 2 more I don't recall. What's the problem? Not one of these newspapers calls themselves black. Garvey comes on the scene. He says, cut the bluff. Let's pronounce it to the whole world. We are the black world. That's why he calls it Negro world. That newspaper, the Defender, they will give credit as the largest circulation black newspaper in our history. At most, they had 160,000 subscribers per week. Does anybody have any idea how many subscribers Garvey had? 500,000. It was produced in 3 languages, French, Spanish, and English. That newspaper single-handedly will change the course of colonialism. The British Empire will outright ban it. In Trinidad, it was subject to imprisonment for 5 years to be seen with the Negro world. And here's a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a laughter. Guess who was delivering the Negro World newspaper in the Panama Canal? The Japanese Navy. Because they believe in race first too. But anyway, let's look at this newspaper, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have the finest writers we've ever produced on this planet. In the middle, you will see the logo. Does everyone see it?
Yes, yes.
Here it is, that logo. This is why Garvey puts that logo on. It's this. Garvey, he does it for 3 reasons. Number 1 is to tell you, you did all this, black man, black woman. Number 2 is for you to go back and grab your greatness. But this is the number one reason why Garvey has to put the Sphinx on that newspaper. It answered the million-dollar question. The million-dollar question is, how do you build the pyramid? No, we don't care about the technology. That's not important. But how do you do it? What? 10 people show up? 30, 40, 3,000, 30,000, 100,000? Once Garvey realized that, that's when he said, it's time for me to go and apply this lesson. What did Garvey learn? Economics. 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 In fact, you cannot be a strong military power until you first become an economic power. In fact, this is why the U.S. government has to go out of the ways to keep these countries undeveloped. Yeah. Because until you develop, if you're doing nonsense, if you're doing corruption, you cannot develop. Yeah. Once you develop your economy, you can defend yourself. Yeah. That's what this is. Always comes down to economics. How do these people build these pyramids? You need a million workers. You need architects, bricklayers, brick masons, accountants, even scribes, even astronomers. You need agriculturists. You need everybody working together. It has to be a collective self-reliance platform. This is how Garvey comes up with the two tenets of Garveyism. The first one is race uplift. The second one, which is the necessary corollary, self-reliance. How do you race uplift and you go beg other people, oh, help me out, master, give me $1, give me $1? You can't do it. Nobody will ever respect you. You'll be a fool all your life. This is why Garvey has to put that on. And get this, for Garvey to do this incredible amount of research, you have to go beg for that. See, in those days, the British Museum had the reading room, the research room, and the exhibits together. Now it's too big. They have 3 different areas. None of them close to each other. So he had to beg for application to be able to do this research. And who does he use for the research? Dugué Muhammad Ali, who's the editor of the African Times and Orient Review. Okay, what does Garvey learn? You're talking about being played, ladies and gentlemen. They always tell you the Fertile Crescent started in Palestine, what they call Phoenicia, where Palestine and Syria is, and then it goes east all the way to Iran. Not true, not true. The Fertile Crescent starts in Upper Egypt. You, black man, black woman, you went and established those places. Sumer was always a black town. Sumer is at the edge of Iran, at the border of Iran. What does Garvey say? The world is run on bluff. What we believe is not what is true. So he said, I'm down with the program. Let's go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to tell you why Garvey's great. Watch this. Grocery store number 1, 47 West 135th Street. Grocery store number 2, 646 Lenox Avenue. Grocery store number 3, 550, oh, by the way, 646 Lenox Avenue is at 142nd Street. Grocery store number 3, 552 Lenox Avenue, that's 135th Street. Universal Restaurant number 1, 114 West 138th Street. You may recognize that address. That's right next to the Abyssinian Baptist Church. In fact, the Abyssinian Baptist Church was a tent when Garvey was around. Universal Restaurant number 2, 75 West 135th Street. Universal Printing House, 2305 7th Avenue, that's at 135th Street. Universal Mart Industries. Watch this. I'm UNIA. I'm the biggest of the big. Big time. You know, I stand for our people. Ask me, how many black dry cleaners have I ever used in my life? None. None. Garvey had his own dry cleaners. He had his own tailors. He had his own laundromat. He had his own hat making, and belt making, and shoe making. There's nothing Garvey didn't think of. And then, as one of the sisters pointed out, Black Dolls Factory at 36 and 38 West 135th Street. Then you had the UNIA head office at 56 West 135th Street. And then I don't mention it here, you had the Black Star Line head office at 54 West 135th Street. And then listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. The Phyllis Whitley Hotel at 357 911 and 13 West 136th Street. Where's Garvey getting all this money from? Where can anybody get all this money? These were all buildings he owned. Well, except the hotel. They wouldn't give him that. He had to lease that. But everything else he owned outright. Where's Garvey getting all this money from? Where can anybody get? This is amazing. You, black woman, You black woman, you black man, you black. You gave him the money. You gave him, that's the only way. If you're Garvey and UNIA, you can't go bad. You can't start a 501c3. Oh yes, pastor, give me a piece of the cake. It doesn't work that way. Nobody ever going to respect you. All you do is beg and beg and beg. No, with Garvey, you stand up, right? Here's something else people don't realize about that newspaper. Garvey was the first editor. All these other newspapers, they always had to have skin bleachers, hair straighteners. They needed advertisers because they were in business to make money. Not Garvey. Garvey starts a Negro One newspaper so he can spread the word of the UNIA. It became so popular, everybody wants to advertise. And guess what? Because you stand strong, you won't accept nonsense. If, let's say somebody wants to advertise some nonsense, not Garvey. What? I've got my own money. I stand for white righteousness. Where does Garvey get all this money to buy all those buildings? Now you understand why they have to destroy Garvey. Right here. Right here. Negro Factories Corporation. Look at the bottom. How much is the stock? $5 a share. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. What was the average wage in those days? According to the 1920 Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average wage of a regular U.S. employee in 1920 was between $1 and $3 per day. How much were black people were making? Not even 40 cents, man. You know that. Don't even fool yourself. Where are these black people getting this $5 from? That's like 2-3 weeks' salary. There it is. Repeat that again, sister. The big S. No great sacrifice. No great achievement can be done without great sacrifice. What Garvey did, he allowed us to be human. He sold us to ourselves. We believe in ourselves. Nobody was saying these things. And there's something else that's not even said enough. Look at it. Frederick Douglass, his father's white. Booker T. Washington, his father's white. Dr. Dugué, he had to have white blood. All of our leaders, you have to have white in you. Not Garvey. And the skin pigmentation, not Garvey. This is why the common folk believe in Garvey. No time ever. We want nothing, man. Think about it. Garvey comes along, he looks at that map, he says, I can do this, man. I can uplift this race. He says to himself, I looked around. Where is the black man's king and kingdom? Where's his president? Where's his army, navy, men of big affairs? He said, I don't see it. So guess what? I'm going to help you create it. This is what this is all about. There are two tenets of Garveyism. Racial uplift and self-reliance. If you do those two, you naturally lead to nationhood.
Yes. Yes, talk about it.
And every nation must have a flag. Must have a flag and must have an anthem. Must have a flag. 1896, this fool named Ernest Hogan. Actually, he's going to be a millionaire. This black fool, a minstrel show actor, there's a song called what's the word? Every pip looks alike. He changes it. He calls it Every Coon Looks Alike. So that starts the coon genre. So you know the whites are going to jump on it. Like these regular rappers denigrating our people. Of course, same thing. It's nothing new. We've always been doing that. So by 1900, these two whites come out with a song. Every race has a flag but the coon. When Garvey learns about that while he's working in England at the African Times and Iron Review, Garvey said, if it's the last thing I ever do on this face of the planet, I will give you a flag. But Garvey just doesn't make the flag. He builds an empire. He builds an empire. Ladies and gentlemen, $5. That's all you got to do. And get this. That's not his first greatest economic plan. That was the second. The first one, Black Star Line. Garvey's back in Jamaica on April 14, 1912. The Titanic, the world's greatest ship, sinks off the coast of Newfoundland. Does anybody know who owns the Titanic? White Star Line. So what does Garvey call his first ship?
Black Star.
I mean, he said, well, if the White Star Line for white people, White House for white people, so what should I call my ship? I mean, I don't create it, I'm just playing, I'm just dealing with it. There it is. How much does he sell the shares for, ladies and gentlemen? $5. Look at the capital stock. Can you read that? The capital stock is $500,000. Listen to it. This is incredible what you do. Garvey initiates that offering on June 27, 1919. You ready for this? In 3 months, he raises $650,000. In 3 months. Where are these black people getting this money from?
Sacrifice.
They sacrifice and they believe there's a better day coming. So what does Garvey do? He said, whoa, that's too quick. Let me recapitalize it. How much does he recapitalize it for? $10 million. He says, if I can raise that in 3 months, I can certainly do that. These are the two buildings, 54 and 56 West 135th Street. This is the Black Doll's factory. Here it is, the White Star Liner. They own the Titanic, and this is the Titanic. Ladies and gentlemen, please applaud for Garvey's first ship, the SS Yarmouth. He's going to rechristen it to the SS Frederick Douglass. Then the second ship was called the SS Chevy Side. That was for the executives. And this is the third ship. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing short of heroic. This third ship is called the SS Kanawha. So what? What's so special about it? That ship, that yacht, used to be owned by Henry H. Rogers. Who is Henry H. Rogers? I will tell you. Outside of African kings, on this planet, the 3 most affluent people ever to set foot on this planet. Number 1 is John D. Rockefeller. Number 2 is Cecil Rhodes, that insidious empire builder who coined the term from Cape to Cairo. And the 3rd most affluent person in the history of this planet, Henry H. Rogers. This was his guy. This is the type of funding Garvey can generate. Henry H. Rogers is going to befriend Booker T. Washington. He's going to give him. He's going to be Booker T. Washington's biggest fundraiser. He gives him easy $1 million. And many times, Booker T. used to ride on this yacht. But what's the point? You don't have to beg, borrow, or kiss up.
You can do Johnny said all.
You can go and buy it yourself.
Yeah.
Here it is. It used to be owned by Henry H. Rogers. Just to give you an idea how affluent Henry H. Rogers was, he had his own personal railroad system. He didn't have to ride railroads with anybody. This is rich. We're talking big time here. He had his own personal railroad system from the East Coast all the way to California. You think about how affluent you have to be to do that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what does this all mean? Because I'm a mathematician, let me explain to you. Okay, there is something called COLA, cost of living adjustment, otherwise known as inflation adjusted for social factors. Okay, the average inflation rate from 1916 to 2016 is 3.3%. Go on the internet, look it up, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, watch this. If you take out the excessive deflation years, what do you mean by excessive? Well, don't forget, we had a depression where the prices were going down considerably. The thing with statistics, they have to be a predictive value for the future. When you have prices going down so much, they don't offer any predictive value. So, as any good mathematician that you are, you throw it out. They're called outliers. They're useless. Watch this. If you take out the excessive deflation years of 1921, 1922, 1927, 1928, 1929, 1930, 31, 32, 33, those 9 years, you come out with 4.1%. The US government will give you 8% per year to delay your full-term Social Security retirement benefits. Currently, it's about 67 years old. If you believe you're going to live forever and you're ready to receive your full-term Social Security retirement benefits, just tell the government, I don't want it. They'll give you 8%. Compounded. 8% on top of the 8% on top of the 8%. Anyway, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Garvey's first ship, the SS Yarmouth, he paid $165,000 cash. No bluff, no mortgage, no IOU. Cash. I will sign off on that. If you believe that 5%, does anybody know what that 165,000 is worth today? $18.7 million just for the first ship. The other two ships, they cost combined $200,000. What is $200,000 worth in today's dollars? 22.7. Just for those three ships, Garvey's put down $40 million. Now you get the understanding why they have to get rid of Garvey. Yeah. He's talking race first, one God, one aim, one death. He's not begging. He's building an empire. Does anybody know how many people Garvey employed just in New York City? 1,000. That's a corporation. 1,000 people that need to get paid every week. That's what Garvey was doing. And then listen to this. The $10 million that he had capitalized the ship, the Black Star Line, which he never did reach. Had he reached it, you know what that would be worth? $1.1 billion. How do you understand what Garvey was doing? What you did, what man has done, man can do again. The Negro Factories Corporation, it was capitalized at $1 million. They did reach it. That's how he bought all those buildings. And let me say this. Garvey had a fleet of trucks. He had mechanics. Listen to this. People don't realize that for those of you that eat meat, being a butcher is a skill set. The first black butchers in New York were Garveyites. You had to go to the man, to the aliens, to have your pork and your beef cut. Garvey's got that. That $1 million for those Negro Factories Corporation, you know what that's worth today? $113 million. You're talking $40 million from those ships, $113 million from the Negro Factories Corp. That's over $153 million Garvey had. Now you understand why we're Garveyites. They've maligned this man so much because this is the black print. It has worked before and it will work forever. It's based on racial uplift and self-reliance. A lot of people confuse Garvey with entrepreneurship. Far from that. Entrepreneurs are people in business for themselves. Garvey couldn't even care less about it. Garvey's trying to uplift the race. You've got to become a nation within a nation. Every group that succeeded in this country, look at the Koreans, look at the Chinese, look at the Ashkenazic Jews, look at the Hasidim. They operate as a state within a state.
That's right.
That's Article 38 of the Declaration of the Rights of Negro Peoples in the World, established in 1920. In fact, for your information, Article 11, never ever use the N-word. Never ever. That was 1920. Article 49, black history must be taught. Whoa, excuse me, brother. Didn't Carter G. Woodson establish Negro History Week in 1926 in February? Yes. Two things. Number one, Carter G. Woodson worked for the Negro World newspaper. And number two, Garvey was pronouncing black history to be taught as early as 1920. So what's my point? Do the math. You're all mathematicians. Your ancestors were mathematicians. You can do the math. All of this Garvey did. All of this. All of this. This is why Garvey's great. Garvey uplifts the race. But more importantly, he's the greatest organizer ever in the history of the planet. He had 12 million black people under one banner. Now what do we have? We have 12 million black people under 30 million banners. They're useless. It's watered down. Everybody's doing their own thing. In fact, this is what they did. The government went out. In fact, the first 5 black FBI agents, what it's called BOI, Bureau of Investigation. The first 5 black agents were hired to infiltrate and destabilize Garvey. In fact, there were 6 others before those. But those fools didn't even get a W-2. They were paid on the side. Fools, at least get something out of it. At least if you're going to sell the race out, get something out of it. I mean, those black FBI agents, they should have kissed Garvey's feet. If not Garvey, they would have been hired. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wrapping up. My name is Raymond Dugué. I am now the president of Division 432 of the UNIA-ACL. And we meet every second Sunday in Harlem at the National Black Theater and every 4th Sunday in Queens at the CMOTAP. That's the Committee to Eliminate Media Offenses to African People. That's at 13505 Rockaway Boulevard in South Ozone Park, Queens, New York, 11420. Michael Duncan is not here, and I purposely did not tell you that, Sister Reva, because I didn't want to upset you. But he's currently in Florida. But more importantly, he owns the Jamaica Breeze restaurant. We're business people. As simple as that. Because of that restaurant, we're on the radio every Monday and Tuesday nights. 93.5 FM, WVIP Irie Jam Radio. The show is called Community Focus, 8 to 9 p.m. Weekdays where the community meets the radio. It's our platform where we're affecting issues, discussing issues that affect us. Okay, watch this. This is complete Garveyism. Where he says, so many of us find excuses to get out of the Negro race because we are led to believe that the race is unworthy, that it has not accomplished anything. Cowards that we are. It is we who have not done enough to uplift this noble race. Instead of attacking your brother, your sister, what have you done? This is everything about Garvey was strictly for the race. He didn't even hide anything, everything. All the advertisements, he says, you know, they even had a steam laundry. You know, it's amazing. I've never seen a black laundromat. I've never been to a black dry cleaner. Garvey had all this. We're talking 1920. All of this Garvey had. Let me share some pictures with you so you have an idea what we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, people don't realize that. The first international convention, 1920, it was held for 31 consecutive days. Not one day. 31. How many people did they have? 25,000 black people. They acted as a government in exile. They came up with the second finest document we've ever produced as a people outside of the continent. It's called the Declaration of the Rights of Negro Peoples in the World. I've already mentioned to you Article 11. Never ever use the N-word. These are pictures. On the top left-hand corner, the two women of the UNIA. The center lady is Lady Henrietta Vinton Davis. And to her right is Amy Garvey. And of course, Amy Garvey. It's Amy Jacques Garvey.
Yeah, all right, yeah, all right.
Okay, and it's Garvey, and then you see what we call the African Motor Corps, the sisters. Okay, watch this. More pictures. The picture on the right is also that picture. Most of the pictures you see from Garvey is from 1924. That's because they had James Vendors here, the finest black photographer we've ever produced. So this is 1924. Look at this. This is where we stood for something, ladies and gentlemen. See, with Garvey and UNIA, you believe a better day's coming. The African Corps, 1924. Look at this. This is one of the Liberty Halls. Oh, by the way, Garvey, any building that we buy, we have to call it Liberty Hall. Does anybody know where Garvey gets that name Liberty Hall from? You'll never believe it. When Garvey's in Ireland, he visits Dublin in Ireland. Garvey's always going to have a special place in his heart for the Irish people because the British have treated them worse than dogs. So they call their center of government Liberty Hall. So Garvey says, I like that idea. Let's use that same concept. Look, this is the hats and clothing store. I don't make this up. Listen to this. This is Garvey's car. Garvey didn't drive, by the way. But he had a car, and they used it. He had a fleet of trucks, but this was his personal car. How many people at that time even owned a car? Legacies of Garveyism? Look at this. Lovely black daughter with a black dog. Look at this. Don't you feel like there's somebody, black men on horseback, our soldiers defending ourselves? For people that are Nation of Islam, doesn't this look like Fruit of Islam to you?
Yes, it does.
Well, it should. It's one in the same. One in the same. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a member of the Detroit UNIA. Do the math. Because I know you're all mathematicians. Okay. Sister Reba, we finished?
Questions?
Unless you want me to continue. You want me to continue?
Continue.
I have a question for you before you go.
Okay, watch this. Watch this.
All right, good.
10 minutes. I'll do this in 5 minutes. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. I talk a big game, yes? I talk a big game.
Yes.
When you talk a big game, you gotta deliver. Yes?
Yes.
You gotta deliver.
Yes.
Get this. Garvey's idea, the black print, it can work. Watch this. Let me entertain your intellectual curiosity.
All right.
Watch this. Every black restaurant in New York City, for them to be in business, they must spend between $10,000 and $15,000 per week on dry goods, meats, and vegetables. We're not talking about salaries, we're not talking about rentals. Just to get the foods, every black restaurant, or they're not in business. Watch this. What if I use the lower end, $10,000 per week? Now you're probably wondering, $10,000, that's a lot of money. Where do they get that money? Well, same thing with Garvey. After Garvey visited the 38 states, he realized, you have to put yourself in Garvey's position. He was from Jamaica. He went to Central South America. He went to Europe. Everywhere, black people at the bottom. When he comes here and he visits the 38 states, Garvey's blown away. He said, my God, these black people don't know how good they've got it. As bad as it is him, people, we're the best off on the planet. Garvey realized it then, and it is still true here. Just to give you an idea how much better off we are. We spend, in these United States, of the 45 million black people, we spend $1.1 trillion. The whole continent of Africa, with 1.1 billion black people, they only produce 2.1 trillion. We're not even 5% of the population of Africa. We spend half of what they produce. We just don't know it. All you gotta do is organize. That's all you gotta do. Yes. Organize around race first. But anyway, here's my argument to you. What if I use the lower end, $10,000, right, per week? What if I've been able to identify 100 restaurants? Actually, I've identified 182, but let's use 100. Let's say we're talking about 52 weeks. 10,000 times 100 times 52. You know how much that is? $52 million that those restaurants already spent. We don't have to create any new money. They already spent it. It's already being spent. What if I tell you, gee, why don't we just do like Garvey? Initiate a stock offering just for people melanin. And we're going to charge the same $5 that Garvey charged in 1919. What is $5 in today's dollars? $600. What if I tell you that $600, that's the same price as the Galaxy 3, same price as the iPhone 6S. It's not like, don't tell me it's a lot of money, because I know everybody's got iPhone. Everybody. What if I tell you, why don't we just do a public offering? Just private offering among us. What if we develop 2 levels of investors? We call members the restaurant members, and the financiers, the people that are going to invest. We went to the black restaurants. Guess what was their response? What took you so long? Where have you been waiting, man? We've been waiting for this forever. You know, we run Jamaica Breeze restaurant. Every time we spend $425,000 just with Jethro every year. And all of these people are giving the money back to these people. Why have the middleman? We can do it for self. If Garvey can do it, you can do it again. So we made it live on March 26th at the Schomburg. So far we raised $408,000. The plan is to raise $750,000 before the end of the year to lease a warehouse. You lease the warehouse because now that we're cutting out the middleman, we get the goods directly because we're buying in volume. And then the restaurant members, they spend less because we're not cutting them, we're not overcharging them. We're not looking for profit. We're looking to uplift the race. Why are we doing this? Here, we have 3 levels of financiers. Owners, investor, and shareholder. Do I talk a big game? Do I talk a big game, ladies and gentlemen? How much do you think I invested? If you talk a big game, you gotta put 50. I try to put 51. But you gotta, if you talk a big game, you gotta deliver. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Whom are we going to get to replace all the suppliers? First one, black farmers. In fact, they're out of business. They don't even have the volume to handle the amount of business that we're giving them. So we're basically going to have to uplift the black farmers. Campbell, Caribbean, all of these are black. And has anyone ever heard of Freedom Paper? No. Yeah. Freedom Paper. The CEO is Brother Kamos Muhammad. This is one of only 3 black manufacturers in the United States. They produce all paper products. Bathroom tissue, paper towels, everything. That's who we get our supplies for the restaurant. But listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the scheme. The owners, investors, and shareholders, those are the people that are going to buy the shares. They're going to come together, and they're going to select the board of directors. There's a committee, you select the CEO and administration. But here's the genius, just like Garvey. Well, hold it. Now that all of these restaurants are in with us, we become a federation. Don't they need accountants? Don't they need mechanics? Don't they need plumbers? Don't they need electricians? Don't they need carpenters? Don't they need cleaning people? But guess what? We're a federation now. You must join. It's called the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corp. You create a whole new set of industries.
Yes.
The service managers, all of the restaurants will be using those service managers. What happens? We create our own employment agency.
Yes.
We hire all of these youth who are doing nothing, who've got their pants underneath their rear end, who want to show their underwear. Guess what? You gotta lift your pants now. Look at this. Why stop there? Because, watch this, to start a credit union, all you need is 100 members operating for at least 9 months. But these are the investors. So we can form a credit union, but why stop there? To a bank. Why stop there? It's unlimited. This is patterned after Mr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Raymond Dugué, and I'm at
That's all right.